In this driving lesson video, I'm going to share with you 5 driving test tips that could be the difference between passing and failing your driving test. If you want to learn more about driving and be a better driver, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Subscribing costs nothing. It just means that you'll be notified of my videos in your YouTube newsfeed. So let's get on with the video. So the first tip here is in relation to parked vans or parked minibuses. These are bigger specimens of vehicles, so you're not going to be able to see as far ahead if one of these things are parked on the side of the road. But they usually have a slightly elevated base, which means that you may well be able to see underneath the vans to a greater extent in comparison to cars, for example. So that's why it's a good idea just to scan quickly underneath here, and if you see any animal legs or human legs, or perhaps a ball has suddenly reappeared, then watch out, because there could be someone on the front side of the van about to cross the road or considering crossing the road. Another common question that comes up that I notice in my emails recently is when learners are not really sure whether the speed limit in town is 30 or 50. Now, local authorities have the power to apply a special speed limit of 30 in built up and densely populated areas. So it does depend on the area, of course. If you're driving along, do not assume that every time you see houses or a housing estate that it must be a 30-kilometre speed limit. Now, it might very well be. In fact, it's more likely to be, but I'm not saying every single place is. You have to drive in a way that reflects the conditions. So if you have a wider road like this, for example, now there's still houses on the left and right here, but the road that I'm driving on here has a bigger traffic flow than a cul-de-sac would have. The traffic is a little bit busier, and it's clearly not a cul-de-sac or a dead end. Now, the housing estate either side of this main road to the left and right could well be 30, but this one here is 50, as you can see here. That doesn't mean you treat it like a target to get to 50. It just means it's the upper limit. You always have to drive in a way that reflects the weather conditions, that reflects the surface, and that reflects the space that you have. Okay, so it's so important as a learner driver that you don't fall into the trap of constantly scanning for speed signs that might or might not be there. Focus instead on dealing with what's in front of you and driving and reacting in a way that reflects the conditions. Let's take this area here, for example. This is a cul-de-sac. It's kind of densely populated. As you can see, there's lots of houses there. So this is perfect for a special speed limit of 30 kilometers, as you can see by the sign just here. And even though it's 50 on this road here, look at the signs and look at the markings. For example, there's lots of yellow school patrol signs here on both sides of the road, and you'll see caution as well on the road there also. And there's lots more yellow warning signs as you get closer and closer. So this is what I mean by reacting to what you can see and not wondering about what the speed limit might or might not be. The next tip then is when you're on a right turn, always look into the road so you can get an idea of what might be there, what potential hazards you might have to deal with. But as you'll see here, you won't always see the hazard in question. By looking into the road here, I don't necessarily see a pedestrian crossing, but what I do see is this blue sign here, which looks slightly out of place. But that's only because I'm coming up a hill here. Now, as I turn in, you will see that this is in fact a keep left sign to indicate that either side of the island here is a separate pedestrian crossing. But I wouldn't have seen that pedestrian crossing on its own from the previous road. I had to go a little bit further up to see it. So it just goes to show you how important it is to look into the road so it can give you a clue as to what might be facing you in a couple of seconds. But even before I turn in here, notice the hill and notice the hatch lines on the left. So I need to be aware of that hill 5-10 seconds before I stop, if I do need to stop, that is, and I must use the handbrake, because the hatch lines here means that cars are not allowed to overtake me on the left. So it's very, very important that I use my handbrake, because there's going to be far more likelihood of cars queuing up behind me. So it's crucial there that I use the handbrake so I have more security on the hill. And since we're on the topic of hills, if the car in front of you is stopped and he still has his brake lights on, that's a good indication that he's not using his handbrake. So just make sure to give him a little bit of extra distance, a little bit of extra clearance between you and him, just in case he rolls back before he goes forward. Next, we have a positional tip. Always watch out for a left bend. That's a bend that disappears to the left up ahead. It's so important that you keep central on these types of roads as long as the lane is wide enough and as long as it's safe to do so. Because as you can see here, by me being a little bit more central, it means that I'm going to see that parked minibus a little bit earlier, and therefore I don't have to swerve or weave out to overtake it. By me being central on a left bend, it just makes the overtaking process much easier. And as I said, watch out for the underside here of the minibus, just in case you can see some legs or some other activity that could mean you have a potential hazard ahead. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And this is my email address here, danetai@gmail.com. If you would like to email me your driving test report sheet, I will respond with some tips, advice, some more detailed information than you probably would have got from your tester, along with some videos to watch that hopefully will help make you a better driver and give you a better chance of passing the next time. I'll also answer any questions you might have on driving, learning, EDT or the driving test. So I'll be back very soon, hopefully next Sunday or Monday with another live stream, and I'll see you then. Thanks for watching. Slán Tamil.